right, hi everybody, good afternoon. Mike Latimore here, Northland Capital. I cover communications SaaS for the company. Next company up here is Phunware. We have Randall Crowder, who's the COO. Good to see you, Randall. Thanks for joining.
It's been a while, but it's good to reconnect.
Definitely. So the conference theme is customer engagement, customer experience. We've had some companies talk about messaging, voice. You have a unique value prop. So maybe you could, I think you want to go through a couple of your slides, which is great. And maybe you can just touch on how your software helps to improve the customer experience for your business customers.
Absolutely. I was really excited to get the invite. And this is what we do. We obviously called customer engagement for us. We call it kind of contextual engagement, and the big buzzword is digital transformation. So how do we leverage technology to better engage customers and ultimately drive profitable behavior? And that's literally what we live and breathe. So excited to go through this. So I'm going to share a screen, go through a quick, I think about 13 slides. It'll kind of set the table for who Phunware is and what we do and how that drives contextual engagement for customers. And then I have a quick video in the middle of it to give a kind of a visual example of it. But we'll open up for Q&A after that. So with that, no further ado, go through the, all right, can you see my slide, Mike?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So to kind of understand, why we, deal with customers and why we deal with engagement, you got to kind of understand where Phunware started. So, we got our start back in 2009. We helped a lot of large brands transition from web to mobile, and it was all about customer engagement, but it was really the passion verticals. So it was sports, media, entertainment. It was, how do we take the desktop experience, shrink it down to the bite size of a mobile device? Because a lot of brands really understood that that was going to become some of the most valuable real estate on the planet, because it was always connected to a customer, always connected to a network. And so we made that shift from web to mobile. Well, now, kind of mobile's, table stakes at this point. A lot of people have mobile apps. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. We built some of the best ones. So we built the first NFL app. We built the first NASCAR app. We built and maintained most of Fox's mobile application portfolio, Sochi Olympics, WWE, you name it. We were really good at building large enterprise mobile applications that were designed to engage customers. Well, now people are thinking, well, instead of just thinking about the mobile device as a big screen to report some content, let's think about the mobile device as a computer. And as we start to see technology kind of permeate throughout the, the real world, whether it's 5G outdoors or really, advanced Wi-Fi indoors, you're going to start hearing this term called digital transformation, because just having a mobile application is no longer good enough. It's what are you doing with a mobile application, thinking about that as like an access point to reach a customer. And really, most people have already seen this before. And I always use this video to kind of contextualize it. It's Minority Report. And I'm kind of dating myself now because I feel like some of the younger generation hasn't seen this movie. It makes me feel old. But if you haven't seen the movie, I want you to see it real fast. And this is it. This is digital transformation.
The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled. Make sure you are
Good evening. You can move the old-fashioned way. John Anderton provides gourmet cuisine. John Anderton, you could use a Guinness right about now. Stressed out, John Anderton.
Escape from it all, Harrison. Get away, John Anderton. Forget your troubles.
All right, that's enough. And for those of you that have seen that movie, he ends up going into effectively the mall, the mall of the future where there's a gap, and now he's got different eyes. So it's like, hello, Mr. Yakamoto, and how do you like these tanks? And that's literally digital transformation. It's taking all of that technology in the real world, it's connecting it to a customer, and it's informing your real world experiences, which is really exciting. This is absolutely going to be the future. We just haven't had the technology in place to really make it a reality. And that's really where Phunware comes into play. So if you think about your day-to-day experiences, you live very disconnected from a very connected world. If you think about it, the last time you walked into a grocery store, maybe you cross an RF signal to open the door, maybe you swipe a credit card to leave. That's about as much of technology informing your real world experience as it's available today. But just like, flying cars are really easy to do with CGI, Having this kind of contextual engagement for consumers in the real world, like you see in Minority Report, is a very complex challenge. You can do it in CGI in a movie, but it's very hard to do in the real world. And that's what Phunware has really dedicated itself to. We've raised over $100 million in private financing before going public to build this platform. And really the whole idea is, how do we make that leap between IoT, which is kind of all the technology in the real world, to actually that mobile device, to really enable that digital transformation? You need a software layer, and kind of what we kind of call Internet of Experiences. But what is that software layer that makes sense of it all? And for us, that's MAS. So our multi-screen as a platform is an enterprise cloud platform designed around mobile, because we live in a mobile first world that's quickly becoming mobile only. And so really what we want people to think about is, it's no different than cloud services. Or if you were going to license a CRM, you wouldn't build that from scratch. You're just going to license it from Salesforce, focus on your business. We want people to think about mobile the same way as they think about engaging their customers, where they don't have to build a mobile application, one and done, throw it over the fence. They're just going to license our software. It works out of the box. You get all the features that are really designed to engage those consumers contextually. Because what are we trying to do here? We're trying to get the right content to the right customer at the right time, in the right place, and really on the right screen. That's what MAS does, and we do it through a software license, which is really unique. And so as you think about where we're going today, if we did passion verticals to get our start, where we're seeing a lot of the growth opportunities now for customer engagement is areas in which they really never needed a mobile application until now. Hospitals, they've been functioning off a website, or maybe MyChart if they're an Epic customer, for a very long time, but they never needed their own native mobile application. Same thing with, like, say, corporations, as they think about returning to work. Previously, the most you would engage would be through a contact us form on a website on your mobile device. Now they're thinking, well, maybe we should have a mobile application to manage an entire smart workplace as we bring people back into the office. And then we also have a really interesting, exciting opportunity in politics as people think about how to use mobile devices to engage voters and constituencies. And so all of this, the only way you can do this at scale is to have a platform that you can license, because all of these folks, a lot of them don't have engineering teams. They don't have massive internal teams to manage this entire mobile ecosystem. They just want to license software and focus on what they do best and let us take that over for them. That's what we've been designed to do. And so that's what we've been designed to enable. So think about like a hotel, for example. Luckily we're virtual right now, but it wasn't that long ago that we did this. Our software platform totally changes the way you would experience a hotel. And we do contactless check-in. The minute you walk onto the floor of the hotel, keys get sent directly to your phone. Your phones get used to access the elevator, open the door to your hotel room. You can use the mobile application to find your way around it. Think about Vegas, these large resorts with all of these amenities. How do you find them? How do you book them? Even as you're walking around, you don't want to stand at a bar or go to a restaurant, order food or drink directly from your phone, have it bring it directly to you. That's engaging the customer where they are. We need to know who you are, where you are, what's around you, and what might be interesting to you that would actually delight you or help drive, again, profitable behavior. Take hospitals, for example. Every hospital right now, it's called digital front door instead of a mobile app. That's what they call it. They're really trying to tech enable the entire continuum of care. And we can talk about ROI models here in a second, and I'll go back to this hospital situation, but literally everything you can think about as a patient, from showing up at the front lobby and them knowing that you need a wheelchair because, you've lost a limb in a war. I'm a, veteran, so there's a lot of issues with some of my soldiers showing up and not having the right assets at hand to help enable their care. Having that all happen seamlessly is going to be so important for healthcare organizations going forward, or just routing people through where they should be going so they don't get lost on these large distributed campuses. Sometimes parking in the wrong parking garage is a 30-minute mistake, and that really impacts clinician scheduling. We also do this, like I mentioned, for corporations. A lot of corporations are thinking about, how do I come back into the office, but how do I take that one step further? So we announced Norfolk Southern, they're building a brand new headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, and they wanted to create an office of the future. So everything from parking management to finding employees to access control to productivity solutions to even emergency response. I tell people, our technology and our ability to engage people in time and space is so powerful. If we were in the World Trade Center, we would have saved lives. And so that ability to immediately in 3 dimensions dynamically identify devices, push content, and give direction, that can save lives in an emergency response situation. And that's really exciting and near and dear to my heart. And so, like I said, I've mentioned a couple industries, but we've done it across almost just about any industry. We're hardware agnostic, we're industry agnostic. It's a software platform that just about any brand, any organization today will need to leverage if they're going to stay competitive going forward, because you have to think about customers contextually. Not everybody's always paying attention to your brand. You really need to create opportune moments for engagement, and you need a software platform that can kind of take all of the data, all of the information in the virtual world, make that contextual, and inform that real world experience. And that's literally what Phunware was designed to do. People always ask, and I'll end with this, how does COVID-19 impact this? A lot of people estimate, that, COVID-19 has truncated the adoption curve for digital transformation by 5 to 7 years. So, we're having our own Miley Cyrus moment, and COVID-19 is coming in like a wrecking ball, and we're really poised for growth now. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. And with that, I'll get off my soapbox and maybe we can answer some questions. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Randall. So, intuitively, what you do makes a ton of sense, and you can kind of understand how its experience is improved with your applications. I guess, do you have some sort of hardcore ROI, like, this customer will save this much money, generate this much more revenue with kind of what you do?
Yeah, we're actually looking at a couple of things that we want to be able to put out to you and a few other folks that are more around modeling. Obviously customers have to be a part of that conversation, and some of them are a little bit more, keep their data close to the chest. The best way I would address that is going back to that healthcare example. So I'm not going to give you specific numbers here. We're kind of working on a report, but think about it like this. We spend $150 billion a year effectively on missed appointments, or just people being late to their appointments in the US healthcare system alone. $150 billion a year because people can't get to their appointments on time, or they forget about their appointments. And so with our software, we dynamically load balance that. So if I have 3 different people coming in for an appointment, and I have Johnny on the spot already in the waiting room, but I'm not supposed to see them till patient 3, and patient 1 still sleeping in bed, and patient 2 is lost in the parking garage, I can dynamically balance that schedule for the clinician based on contextual observation of my patients. And so that begins to have a really great impact on ROI in terms of that not missing appointments, or just giving them the right information. Hey, you're going to miss your appointment if you don't leave right now. Or as you're approaching the hospital campus and I just had this situation with my mom where they actually changed where the entry points were for visitors because of COVID. And so they were routing people through a different way than all the signage around the campus would have led you to believe. And so we parked in the wrong garage. We were going to be late. We had to leave. We actually walked up to the hospital, and my mom's, a little bit older. And then we had to walk all the way back, get in the car, find the other way. That could have all been interdicted. We would have known that someone was driving in that direction when they crossed a geofence. We would have immediately notified them, hey, you're going in the wrong direction, actually park here. And we could have seamlessly navigated them to ensure that they arrived on time. Same thing goes with anything else around patient satisfaction. In hospitals, you hear a thing called HCAP scores. It directly impacts your reimbursement. Just patient satisfaction. If I'm sitting in an ER or sitting in a recovery room and I'm wondering where my nurse is because I haven't had my pain meds, that little red button, everybody in the healthcare industry will tell you that people have sensory overload and they've learned to just tune out all those buttons and beeps. And so now you can actually find somebody and say, oh, there's my care team. I know where they are. Oh, they're with another patient. I can kind of wait, and I can flag them and tell them to come see me when they are. Or if I want to escalate something, I can actually, report it to an administrator. And so I, as an administrator, can now come in, interdict that patient journey and say, hey, I hear you're having a bad time, or you had a bad night last night. What's going on? How can I help? Versus waiting for a Press Ganey survey 3 months later where they lambast your care, and then all of a sudden now you're having really poor reimbursement rates because those HCAP scores are going down. So ROI is a very big, impactful opportunity for us, especially in healthcare, and I think that's really exciting for us.
So when you talk about contextual engagement, it sounds like one of the biggest variables or elements of context is just location. Is that like number one on the list, or?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think when we talk about contextual, it's probably identity, and I don't mean personally identifiable information or PII. It's really just when you think about identity, we're really big on transparency, but also with that privacy. And so the way our platform is architected is we can still contextually get you the right information without having any of your personal information. And so that's going to be important going forward as people are more concerned with privacy and more concerned with when is their location being shared or not. So our system manages that. Like I might want to share my location when I'm at work, but the minute I leave work, I don't want to share my location anymore. And so how do I switch that very effortlessly? I think that's going to be important, but location is one of our biggest competitive advantages. A lot of companies pretend to do this. All they really do is wayfinding. Wayfinding is hacked location software. It's having a map, knowing that if I'm going from point A to point B, here's the route. What we do is real-time indoor positioning, sub 1 meter accuracy, sub 1 second latency. You could be, if you were in that actual conference room behind you, you could be walking around in circles around that conference room table or moving chairs, and our blue dot is just following you around. Being able to do that in a hardware agnostic model, because you might have Cisco access points in that conference room, but the minute you go into the hallway, you might have infinite leap beacons. And then the minute you go outside, you may have 5G connectivity going over to the parking garage. Having that switch and that blue dot effortlessly transition from indoor to outdoor environments from different signal strengths, that's a very complex challenge, and we knock it out of the park.
Okay, interesting. So I think your 8K you filed ties into that a little bit, but I saw you had an 8K with Carrier as a major distribution partner, big publicly traded company, leader in heating and cooling. Like maybe help us figure out what does that mean to you guys?
Yeah, that one's a big one for us. And I really don't think people understand just how big it is. As we think about scaling, we want to scale as an indirect channel company. So we want to basically, we have it all. If you go to docs.phunware.com, training.phunware.com, all the collateral is in place to be able to sell and scale our software through other people's channels, other people's distribution networks. And so we've been working this a lot through the last year, through the pandemic, having these partner discussions, telling them that, look, our platform is designed to be integrated into your existing solutions. So we have what's called software development kits, SDKs, or application program interfaces, or APIs. Those can be taken off the shelf, integrated into your existing mobile application that we maybe had nothing to do with. And you can enable all of these features and functionalities. And if you want the features and functionalities and you don't have a mobile application, we can give you one out of the box, and it'll function just as good. But with Carrier, Linnell S2 is a security solutions giant, a subsidiary of Carrier, and they have a Blue Diamond mobile app. And so it will be this kind of world-class smart workplace solution. And they're really kind of building upon where they already are dominant, and that's in access control, credentialing, all these security solutions. And they're thinking, well, what an accretive upsell to have this smart workplace solution and all these additional features, whether it's an office or a hospital or a hotel, anywhere we sell access control or credentialing, we should be selling this location software to make that mobile application location aware so that we can drive contextual engagement. And so they licensed our software development kit. We bundled it inside the Blue Diamond app, and now they're going out to their 100,000 customers, with our software inside. So, just like Intel inside, it's Phunware inside. And so that's how we want technology partners to think about us. They can take our features and capabilities, our 12 years of experience, they can integrate it into their existing mobile app, their existing ecosystems, and get all the benefit of that 12 years of experience, our platform that is built to scale. And that's really exciting for us because I think it'll show people this is how it's supposed to work. So many people think of mobile as digital agencies. That's what we did. That's not what we do. What we do now is licensed software, and we're built to scale and support.
So if Linnell sells your software to one of their customers, how do you get paid? What would be an ASP on a deal, let's say?
Yeah, so it's kind of it's a rate card effectively. So as we think about anytime you're selling location software specifically, you're thinking about contract length, contract term, and then square footage. And so we have different levels of square footage. Let's say up to 100,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet, up to 500,000 square feet, up to 1 million. Anything over 1.5 million is a different conversation. And then 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year terms. But it gets pretty exciting. You know, there's another one that we announced more of a direct deployment in, and that's Baptist Health South Florida. You know, they doubled their square footage with us. We now cover about 6 million square feet. That's $1 million total contract value right there. And so we love this business. You know, we've already put out guidance that we're targeting kind of 30% year-over-year growth this year, and then 75% gross margins, which we're pretty much already at. But when you're talking about location software and selling through a channel, you know, the margins get, you know, even higher. And so that's exciting for us as people start to realize just how powerful that location software will be. But it'll always be kind of usage-based pricing based on square footage and contract term.
Yeah. And so are pretty much all your deals, do they all include a location-based element to them?
Great question. Pretty much, yes. And so anytime someone came to us for a mobile application, it's already integrated. And so just like, you know, we think about Carrier as no different than Microsoft Office. You know, Microsoft didn't go out and try to sell Microsoft Office to every single customer so they can engage with, you know, a Word document or a database platform. They sold the phone company and the computer company. So every time they sold a phone or a computer, it was already preloaded. We want to do the exact same thing. So when you license MAS, again, that multi-screen as a service platform, it comes pre-integrated with all of our solutions. So you're going to get location whether you want to turn it on or not. And then, you know, maybe you just want to get started with mobile engagement, which is all, we can do that virtually. We can do that through push notifications. We can do that through a really rich UI, but maybe you're not ready to turn on the location software. But the minute you're ready to turn it on, it's not, okay, now we've got to integrate it. We've got to build it. We've got to develop it. It's just turning it on. And we'll make sure that, you know, your venue is ready to be a smart venue. But it's a lot easier than one might imagine. And so the way we think about it is you kind of, everybody's going to get LBS. Not everybody gets a mobile app.
Okay, makes sense. So when you win a, you know, good sized deal, are you frequently replacing, you know, a couple point solutions, or is it more greenfield?
Yeah, great question. You know, it's normally, that's how people think about the market right now. When people think about like, who are your competitors, we don't really see anybody that's approaching it in exactly the same way we're doing it. You could have like an SAP or a Google and a massive, you know, implementation that requires you to have your own in-house team. We see a couple industry specific solutions that are more focused on kind of the front end or customer experience, but don't have the location software. Think of like a Purple Health and healthcare. And we also see the digital agencies still, you know, Copper Mobile, Mutual Mobile, things like that, where they're just building one and dones. They're not licensing a platform. The most likely competitor is really like an Accenture. And to your point, what they're doing is a hospital is going to them saying, hey, I need to embrace digital transformation. I need to create a digital front door for my healthcare organization. I need your help because I don't want to get fired. And then Accenture will go cobble together point solutions. They'll find somebody that does location pretty well, somebody that does analytics pretty well, somebody that can build a mobile application and tie it all together. But guess what? None of that was ever meant to be interoperable. And so all of a sudden they start running into all of these issues of compatibility. The vendors are on different timelines. They all have dependencies. Like I can't do location until this person does the actual mobile app, and I can't do the mobile app until you get the back end done. And it just becomes a nightmare. With us, it's one procurement relationship. It's one vendor throat to choke. The goal is to get customers engaged, license software that just works out of the box. And so I think that's where we more often than not will find ourselves maybe replacing people here and there in the continuum. But overall, we actually want people to think of us as complementary. You know, if you already, so Norfolk Southern, again, to go back to that example, they've already contracted with somebody for their parking management system. They've already contracted with somebody else for their productivity solution or their room booking solution. We just bring it all together. You know, it's Lord of the Rings. It's one mobile app to rule them all. And so we give people the ability to, again, drive ROI because we're driving utilization. You can have all the platforms in the world, but if you don't have a mobile first solution that is native, that people can actually engage with, you're never going to get anything out of it. You're going to go through login hell and you're going to go death by vendor. And it's just like, you're going to forget all your passwords and they're updating them on random time schedules and it just becomes a mess. So we want to simplify all that into one experience.
Yeah, no, that's great. So on the topic of COVID, you had the wrecking ball earlier. I mean, when you think about location software being valuable, you actually need people in locations. And last year they weren't in locations, right? So, I mean, as things reopen and people go back, is this a tailwind for you guys?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think, what we were lucky enough to have some really great things closed for us even during the pandemic, because a lot of these folks, when they're thinking digital transformation and thinking 5-year plan, 10-year plan, Norfolk Southern was going to build this headquarters no matter what, and eventually they're going to use it no matter what. And let's be honest, I mean, I was in New York during 9/11. There for a year, no one wanted to travel, and then after that, everyone just got back to their lives again, and they were like, all right, well, let's keep it rocking. We're going to have the exact same thing happen with COVID. It was very visceral when we were going through it, but you can already see the signs of people going, all right, I'm ready to go back. Let's do this. What's cool though, is I do think there'll be a little bit of a hangover in terms of, is it a hybrid model? Do people work in the office 3 days a week, work from home 2 days a week? And so a lot of the big four accounting firms have been doing this forever. We were working with PwC. Cisco brought us into a deal to look at their Tampa headquarters, and they call it hoteling. So they send consultants to different cities all the time. They're not at their home office. So how do they access the printer? How do they find their way around an office that they're not familiar with? How do they find conference rooms that's available? How do they find meeting rooms? How do they have visitors come in? How do they establish access control or credentialing for an office that's not their own? All of that was always been an issue for them. Now it's an issue for everybody. So that's exciting. I think from a closing deal standpoint is probably what kept me up the most was, hey, if I want to have this smart workplace solution, I really want to do it. I really want to use you all, but I don't want to do it until we're back in the workplace. And so, we certainly were impacted by COVID. It certainly pushed out a couple proposals. Some things we had actually already completed. We just haven't been able to recognize revenue. And so we really are looking at the second half of this year as everybody, that tailwind really coming into fruition, for a lot of this engagement. And that's really even just with our primary platform. We also have a blockchain enabled component to what we're doing. We've now started to sell Fun Token. That's part of our kind of blockchain enabled data exchange and mobile loyalty ecosystem. It's all managed by an application we just released called Fun Wallet. That's all about engagement as well. So as you think about, we can give you with our existing platform a video to watch. Let's say, using the Minority Report example, you're walking through a retail store, you walk past aisle 16 and I say, hey, Mike, at the end of aisle 16 is a really great product. Will you watch this video? And it'll explain why this product's so great. Our existing platform does that very well. And maybe you watch the video, maybe you don't. But a lot of people now are thinking, how do I better engage that consumer? Because I really want them to watch that video. Can I reward them for watching the video? If I've already run the numbers and I know I can give them a little bit of something because I know 1 out of 4 people will actually buy that product, that's what our blockchain ecosystem does now. So I can definitively identify the person, and then I can easily, seamlessly reward them for watching the video. That's the future. That is the future of customer engagement. It's all contextual, and we have the platform to really be able to tackle that problem.
And the Fun Wallet was the loyalty program that was involved in that scenario?
It's both, actually. So Fun Wallet will manage a dual token economy. The Fun Coin is a regulated security token that'll actually be tied to data. So when you hear people say own your own data, that's all about hygiening and sanitizing your data. Who hasn't researched a car, but then bought a car, and a year later you're still getting ads for the car? You're like, I already bought a car. I'm not your target market anymore. So how do you get that right content to the right person? You got to be able to identify them and manage data very well. That's Fun Coin. Fun Token is all about the value of engagement. So every time you click something, share something, go somewhere, all of that is engaging, and it's more kind of experiential. That's what Fun Token manages. So if I ask you to fill out a survey or go to a certain point of interest or watch a video, we can reward you with Fun Token. And the cool thing about that is, similar to what our rest of our platform does through software development kits, you can white label it. If you want to call it retail coin, to the blockchain, it's still Fun Token. So it's still one currency. But to the user, you still can stay on brand and really engage with that brand and understand who's rewarding you for what and for what engagement. And that's really exciting for brands, because we take all the guesswork out of blockchain. And the kicker is, Fun Token shows up as revenue. So our CFO loves that. So anytime we sell our cryptocurrency, we're selling a live platform, we're selling live software designed for customer engagement. and that shows up as revenue on the books. So that's exciting for us as we think about how do we grow and scale from here.
And I guess just last topic, you talked about channels being super important. What about just direct sales, and how have you built that out so far this year?
Yeah, we don't do a lot. What our direct sales right now is really, I would be disingenuous if I called it direct. It's really co-selling. So we've sold some direct stuff in the past. That's kind of what we were doing as the digital agency. It's Alan, it's myself. We're selling to large brands, and that's a C-level conversation where we're just saying, look, our software can be really great for you. What we're seeing more often than not now, probably 80%, kind of 80-20 rule, 80% is kind of partner referred selling is what we call it. So as we try to establish an indirect channel, they'll say, well, that's a bigger conversation. We got to figure out pricing. We got to figure out discounts. We got to figure out who we would target. And, here's this other customer though. Here's this one hospital that I'm actually already talking to. Maybe let's do a trial run there. We'll open the door, you come in, you sell them, we'll sell our piece, you sell your piece. Let's see how that goes. And then if that goes well, we can talk about being an indirect channel if that makes sense for our model. And so we see a lot of that right now where, similar to your earlier question, which was very astute, are you responding to RFPs? That similarly. And so someone will say that PricewaterhouseCoopers deal that I mentioned with Cisco, they were just trying to prevent Aruba from coming in. And so they said, hey, can you come out? And we're already selling them the steak. We've got this great Wi-Fi. We want to show them the sizzle. So you come out and show them that with this great Wi-Fi that's already integrated with Phunware's platform, Meraki is absolutely the partner for them because they can enable all these features. And so we become an accretive, upsell, cross-sell to these partners. But the real goal is the next time that happens, they're just selling it on their paper and we're on their price book.
Yeah, makes sense. Great. Awesome. Well, that's a really helpful overview. Thanks a lot, Randall. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time. Appreciate the opportunity. And if anybody has any questions or follow-ups, always happy to do one-on-ones and talk about the company or just really how we're enabling brands to engage consumers. So excited about this and really excited to be joining you today. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Have a good day. All right. Talk to you later.